My brother-in-law spent a summer in Peru with his parents when he was a teen. I don't know why, but this has become his personality. I had a fun cocktail party at my apartment when I lived in the city. My sister brought him as they'd just begun dating. He spent most of the time complaining that my pisco sours weren't very authentic and that he has much better ones in Peru. We went out a few years later and ate at a little restaurant downtown with tasty ceviche. Nope, it was done all wrong. You get the idea. Well, we all grew up and I married a guy who owns a small bit of land outside my hometown. We have a bit of an animal rescue and I love it. There's only one issue. Larry and Darnell. Llamas. They are ill-tempered idiots. I still love them, but I've grown to understand their moods. But the worst thing is that they spit. A lot. And accurately. My sister's family is spending 2 weeks with us this summer to get the kids out of the city, so the cousins can all spend some time together. I gave everyone the same warning. Keep away from the llamas. They aren't friendly. My brother-in-law knew better because he'd lived in Peru and used them as pack animals. Well, he's currently in the bathroom, washing out his mouth for the last 15 minutes. He went right over to the llamas to show his kids they weren't dangerous, and he got a double barrel of llama phlegm right in his mouth and his eye. He called me an idiot for not telling him that my llama spit. All llamas spit. Anyone who lived in Peru and used them as pack beasts would know this. I found out from my sister just now that he went to a touristy golf course that has llamas as carriers for the golf clubs. He didn't even go on a long hike with them. So, am I the idiot for not being more explicit in my warning and letting my know-it-all brother-in-law learn the hard way? Not the idiot. It sounds like your brother-in-law is a drama llama. I've never been to Peru, but I've seen videos on the internet of llama spitting. But in general, if someone tells you an animal is not friendly and not to approach it, why would you still do it? Animals are wildly unpredictable in general. Dude had it coming. My brother-in-law thought he was the llama whisperer, but discovered he was the llama spittoon. Always listen to the owner about an animal's disposition. If the owner says it's an idiot, then it is. Some are smooth. They'll act all cute and cuddly with a new stranger, then they get to know you, and the true personality emerges. Cats are good at this. Others will immediately let you know and take pride in being the idiot. This is hilarious. He got what he deserved. I honestly thought it was common knowledge that llamas are big jerks. Your brother-in-law sounds insufferable. If he's using a summer vacation from childhood as the basis of his personality, then he has no personality. He acts like a know-it-all brat. What happened to him is hilarious and absolutely not your fault. I feel bad for his spouse and kids. He sounds like an immature college kid, not an adult with a family. Also, telling children the llamas were safe to play with after OP specifically warned them to stay away. Even if they were good-natured, no one should tell children to ignore safety warnings. Being disrespectful to your host and endangering your kids is a big no. Anyway, OP gives Larry and Darnell an extra treat for being so awesome and putting brother-in-law in his place. This made my day. I, 38 male, have a daughter, Daniela, a tween, who has a birthday next week. Over the past few years, my sister, Chloe, 32, made grand promises to Daniela on her birthday, and they all fell through. The first came about 3 years ago, and Chloe promised to take her to her first Broadway show. I checked with Chloe a couple of times that she could afford it, wanted to take a young tween to the city, we live about an hour away, etc. Chloe promised up and down it was all good. Then, 2 days before the show, she said plans had changed and she sold the tickets. Daniela was devastated, but Chloe tried to make it up to her by taking her to dinner the following week. For Daniela's next birthday, a similar thing happened. Chloe put an IOU in the card and basically told Daniela she could cash it in for one of a few activities. Daniela would text Chloe throughout the year asking when they would do it, but Chloe always had an excuse. Eventually, the year ended with nothing being done. Daniela said that she didn't care about not getting a gift, but it was disappointing to be promised something and then have it taken away. She actually talked to Chloe about it and Chloe apologized. The next birthday was the worst example in my opinion. Chloe promised she would take her the following weekend to an amusement park that Daniela really wanted to go to. Daniela was so excited, but Chloe continued cancelling on her until the amusement park closed for the season. It should be noted that these things Chloe promises are stuff out of my budget most of the time. I did end up doing 2 of the activities on the IOU, but things like a Broadway show and the amusement park tickets were not something I could afford. I did save up to bring Daniela this summer and she had a ton of fun, but I know it was disappointing for her last year. Chloe apologised, but Daniela was less receptive to it at that time. This year, Chloe told me she wanted to take Daniela to New York overnight to see a show. I asked for proof this was booked. Chloe said she would do it once she figured out a time they could go. I said no more of this. She doesn't have to give Daniela anything at all, but if she does, it needs to be something planned and something she doesn't intend to back out of. No more IOUs. If she wants to gift these things, they need to be booked and non-refundable so I can see that she isn't going to back out. Chloe promised this time would be different. I said okay, then do as I asked. Chloe said I was being unfair and holding the past against her. She also said I can't control what she gives my daughter for her birthday. Some family members have backed her up saying Chloe's harmless and Daniela needs to understand that sometimes things don't work out. I pointed out my daughter knows that lesson very well as she lost her mom young, and the only consistent woman figure she has, her aunt, keeps letting her down. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, but do not let Chloe take your daughter out of town for an overnight. Her behavior history does not seem to support that your daughter would be well taken care of. And Chloe is giving a gift to your daughter, just not the intended one. Your daughter is learning what kind of person Chloe is. It sounds as if she's already figured that out. Right? Honestly, I'm wondering if at this point the daughter even wants Chloe for her birthday. If someone let me down multiple years in a row, I'd probably just learn that this isn't someone I can trust or depend on, and I wouldn't trust a single thing they said. OP, stick to your guns. You can't promise gifts if you never plan to follow through. This isn't kid making a coupon book for mom or dad with cute little things. This is a grown adult repeatedly screwing over a child just because they can't stop being a flake. Sorry, but Chloe seems like a disaster, and I'd be really wary of trusting my child to someone so flaky, callous, and careless. Chloe isn't harmless, and OP is helping Daniela understand that Chloe makes promises she has no intention of fulfilling. I hope that OP shuts his family down. Chloe should be ashamed, and also the family for backing her. Seriously, they excuse an adult for, every single time, making false promises to a kid. Crappy people. There's a kid in my high school who got an article in the school newspaper published about him because he was homeless and managed to get into an Ivy League school. From what the article says, when he was 19, his parents had to leave the state, and he was left without a solid place to live, but lived with a couple of his friends' families throughout the year. He then wrote his college essay about homelessness and getting into an Ivy. I understand that being homeless doesn't necessarily mean living on the streets. Still, from the article, he was chilling at a couple of people's houses for months each and didn't have to seriously worry about where he was sleeping next. So I don't see that as homeless. Edit, he could have gone to his parents' place any time. He had a $60,000 car, his parents paid for it, and they gave him an unlimited credit card. So it's not that hard to get 2 states over. His parents are wealthy. The next time I saw him, he asked if I'd read the article, and I confronted him, saying that it sounded like he wasn't really homeless and was embellishing it for the sake of college essays. He got angry and called me a huge idiot and said it was still a struggle because he felt out of place living with his friends and eating their food. I told him sure, that's a struggle, but that's not what being homeless is. He called me an idiot and walked away. Later, a lot of his friends started slamming me online, saying I was a huge idiot for invalidating his struggles. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. Couchsurfing is still homelessness as someone who's been homeless. While he had a place to live and eat, he was pretty much at the mercy of the people who let him stay with them. There was always a chance that he'd have to leave, and I'm sure it wasn't the same feeling of security for him as living under your parents' roof would be. And what's it matter to you? What did you possibly see the outcome of the confrontation to be? You got the information about how he lived from the article, so he wasn't misrepresenting his struggles. I agree, it feels like there might be an aspect of jealousy. Did you also apply to Ivy League schools? Were you accepted? While it's your right to have an opinion, I don't see what you possibly gain from this. Sometimes it's best to keep your opinions to yourself unless you take satisfaction in hurting people's feelings. To find in OP's comments where he mentioned the kid had a car that his parents paid for and an unlimited credit card his parents paid for, this is 100% a rich kid manufacturing BS for sympathy from other rich people, and they'll all sneer from the deck of their future yacht at actual homeless people. This is truly disgusting levels of duplicity, and you should all not feel sorry for that kid. So what? Why is this bad? Rich people like rich people with fake sob stories. They do not like poor people. The kid in OP's story leveraged that fake sympathy rich people like to extend to kids that are not too poor, too uncouth, or too dirty to get into an Ivy League school. Meanwhile, actual high-achieving kids that are actually homeless would not get a fraction of the same regard. Kids facing broken homes or foster care, bouncing from one tenuous situation to another, wouldn't get the benefit of being homeless. This was 100% manufactured homelessness for college applications. My female 28 best friend was supposed to get married back in April. The venue had a fire, so they had to postpone the wedding. I have a toddler daughter, Annie. The same original wedding date fell on one of my ex's days with her, but the new date fell on one of my days. Before they reset the date, he told me he'd still have her if it fell on one of my days, but to let him know as soon as I knew so he could make sure he booked it off. We work at the same place on opposite shifts, so if I'm off, he's at work and vice versa. When we split up, we worked our custody arrangements around this. We just found out about the rescheduled date a month ago. It was Wednesday's wedding, the ex was scheduled to work, and he couldn't take off due to the short notice as too many other people were off. No one in our family was free to look after her, none of his friends were free, and most of mine were attending the wedding themselves. I even tried the parents of her friends, but no luck. I asked my friend if I could bring Annie to the wedding and my mum would be able to pick her up at 3 o'clock after she finished work. She said no because it was supposed to be child-free. I told her the situation and that I would only be able to go to the reception then. I was supposed to be a bridesmaid, so she wasn't happy about this. She told me to get a babysitter, but no one was free and I didn't want to leave her with a stranger. I apologized and said I couldn't attend the ceremony, but I could go to the reception. She got upset and told me not to bother and didn't talk to me for days. So I didn't bother. Yesterday I got an angry text from her mum demanding to know why I hadn't turned up to the reception like I said I would. I told her what my friend had told me and she made excuses that she's been stressed with the wedding preparations and I should have taken it seriously. I regret missing out on the wedding and wish I'd just gone now. I was just worried she'd get upset at me if I did. I don't know. Do you think I'm the idiot? Not the idiot. Your best friend may have been stressed but also left you with no option, so it was decided for you. You can't just lock your child in a closet somewhere and go. You tried to find a realistic solution but nothing worked out. You offered to go to the reception. She told you not to. You were hurt but respected her wishes. She can't be angry at you for that too. Wedding planning is different, but give me a break. You have to play the cards you're dealt. People need to stop making such a big deal over weddings. Keep it simple and flexible. I also don't know how last minute they got the venue sorted, but children or not, less than a month of notice is nowhere near enough time for almost anyone. Some people have to travel and others need time off from work, especially for a wedding on a weekday, which this was. I understand it's disappointing for the bride and groom, but it's the reality of leaving things so last minute. I'll get downvoted, but so be it. I'll go with everyone's the idiot here. I mean, she obviously didn't give you many options, but her wedding was close. One of her bridesmaids, you, wouldn't be able to go to the ceremony and she got angry. You should have at least tried to talk to her in the days that followed your conversation. She's your best friend and you didn't seem to care that you wouldn't be able to go to the wedding. I have a friend who's 22 and she has a license but she cannot drive. She's terrified of driving. The driving videos of crashes and her parents being stressed when teaching her messed her up. She got her license and then never drove again. Anyway, she needs to drive everywhere. We're in the US and driving is pretty important. Usually I'm fine with picking her up and driving her, but I'm so tired of it. If we go out since I'm the one driving, I can't have a drink. I must pay for more gas. I have to figure out the route. If she's late, well, I'm late. My complaints go on and on. She was complaining about not going anywhere. I reminded her she had a car she could use and that she had a license. I heard the whole spill of how it's so dangerous and I told her it's getting old. I said I couldn't be driving you everywhere. At this point it's pathetic and she needs to get over it. She hasn't talked to me since and thinks I'm an idiot. Not the idiot. I think it's funny that she said she can't drive because it's dangerous, but it's not dangerous when you drive her everywhere. Make that make sense. I have heard that people can be anxious or scared of driving and therapy helps, or she needs to consider Uber and public transport. Exactly. You aren't your friend's personal driver. A professional gets paid. She can drive her car, call a taxi or Uber, move to a town with public transport, or call someone else to haul her around. You are being taken advantage of. It's okay to say no. Everyone's the idiot here. She's an idiot for making you late, not contributing to gas and overall not seeming grateful. But you also crossed a line by calling her pathetic for her fear. I mean, you're partially right, but you were a real idiot about it. If she's terrified of driving, then she should not be behind the wheel because she will put herself and others at risk. You don't have to drive her everywhere, but you have no right to insult her. I would apologize, but stand and explain how it affects you being her cab. Either she contributes to gas or she needs to find an alternative method of transportation. Update. Thank you for all the comments. I'm going with the justified idiot on this. I sent a text apologizing for my outburst, but also outlined that I'm not driving her anymore. I explained my frustration and her not showing courtesy by never paying for gas or making me late to activities because she was late. Never mind, I don't feel bad anymore. She texted me back and told me that I'm screwing up her social life since she can't afford Uber everywhere and a lot of creative curses, and for the first time I was called a muppet. Didn't understand that insult. I guess she's mad I won't be a doormat anymore.